Imagine receiving one delivery order, a limestone block weighing about 2.5 tons. Destination, 481 feet above the desert. Delivery window, before the king dies. Quantity, roughly 2.3 million. That is not a building project. That is a scheduling emergency with a pointy roof. The Great Pyramid was built for Khufu at Giza around 45 centuries ago. It became the largest pyramid in Egypt and the only surviving wonder of the ancient world. The tempting question is, which secret machine did they use? The better question is, how did an entire society keep millions of separate jobs moving in the correct order? Follow one block. Most of the pyramid's core limestone came from the Giza plateau itself. Workers cut channels around the stone, hammered it free, shaped it, and introduced it to its new profession, being heavy somewhere else. But the pyramid was once wrapped in smooth, pale casing stone. For that finer limestone, crews traveled to quarries at Tura, across the river. This part is not guesswork. Inspector Merer kept a log. His papyrus records a crew transporting limestone by boat from Tura toward Khufu's pyramid. Humanity's oldest surviving project update is basically picked up stone, sailed stone, still dealing with stone. Waterways and a harbor brought cargo close to Giza. The block came ashore, met a wooden sledge, and immediately discovered that wheels were not invited. Pulling a loaded sledge over loose sand creates a stubborn mound in front. Experiments show that a small amount of water can stiffen the sand and reduce the drag. Not a magic spell. More like ancient road maintenance with one very judgmental bucket. Then came the workforce. Popular culture loves rows of enslaved people. Archaeology is less cinematic and more interesting. The settlement near Giza points to a large Egyptian workforce containing permanent skilled specialists and rotating labor crews. They had bakeries, food production, housing, administrators, and enough organization to make a modern group chat collapse. Bread and beer helped feed workers. Copper tools needed sharpening. Ropes needed replacing. Boats needed crews. Surveyors needed straight lines. Quarry teams, haulers, masons, cooks, scribes, and supervisors all had to arrive before one another became extremely expensive scenery. The plateau helped. The pyramid sits on solid limestone bedrock. Builders leveled and prepared the site, then laid out a square aligned remarkably closely to the cardinal directions. One survey rope out of place, and the world's largest triangle develops trust issues. Now, the uncomfortable part. Nobody can prove the complete lifting system. Ramps were almost certainly involved, but whether they ran straight, zigzagged, wrapped around the pyramid, or changed as it rose remains debated. Any animation that confidently shows one perfect ramp is quietly upgrading a hypothesis into home security footage. What is certain is that the structure rose course by course. Blocks were hauled, levered, checked, adjusted, and locked into an enormous mass. Inside it, passages and chambers had to appear at the right height while the surrounding stone climbed around them. The king's chamber used massive granite elements transported from southern Egypt. Above it, stacked spaces and heavy beams helped redirect the crushing load. The builders were not merely piling blocks. They were managing weight before structural engineering had its own email address. Finally, fine casing stones created smooth faces that caught the sun. Much of that outer skin disappeared over later centuries, leaving the stepped core familiar today. The pyramid did not begin as a giant staircase. Time performed the renovation without permission. So how was the Great Pyramid built? Not by aliens' miracle gadget, not by aliens doing unpaid consulting, and not by a single endless line of anonymous bodies. It was built by a system. Quarries feeding sledges, sledges feeding boats, boats feeding crews, crews feeding courses, and administrators keeping food, tools, people, and stone arriving in sequence. The exact upper ramp may remain uncertain. The logistics do not. The Great Pyramid is 2.3 million heavy appointments, kept well enough to become a mountain, and somehow it is still standing for the follow-up meeting.